Hey everybody, welcome back. Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we are finally actually doing the episode on the Indonesian Shortsnout Dogfish, Squalus hemipinnis. If anybody was here last week, we tried to do this episode and I stopped midstream just because I was not feeling well, and turns out that was a food poisoning fiasco. So nothing bad happened on the stream, which was good. I'm very appreciative of that. But it is kind of fascinating that in the top of the stream I was like doing okay, and then as we got like 40 minutes in, it all started to fall apart. So fortunately, nothing bad happened actually live. But this species wasn't really given its due, and I'm glad that we're going to take another crack at it. And actually, it works out too, because I think on that last stream I focused a lot on general shark classification and just as a broad overview. And before we got into really diving into the dogfish and kind of like what makes a dogfish and what makes this species in particular unique. And then it just kind of like spiraled away. So we really didn't spend a lot of time with the species last week. So I'm excited to actually really give it a good college try and focus on the species. And then also, as we get more viewers later tonight, talk about our new Shark Week contest, which I'm very excited to reveal the official hint today in terms of what it is. So it's an entirely new year with an entirely new prize and new rules as far as the Shark Week YouTube banner contest for the channel. So more to come. I'll just wait for some viewers to hop online, and I'll probably divulge a little bit more, maybe 30 minutes to an hour into the stream. But I think without further ado, let's dive into the Indonesian short snout dogfish redo and see what we can learn. So I'm just going to dive right in on shark references. This is Squalus hemipinnis, discovered in 2007, so it's actually a fairly recent species. What's kind of cool is that a lot of species have been discovered in the past 20 years, maybe 30 years, and a lot of it is just research in areas that hasn't really been well sampled. So there's a lot of research, especially in the Pacific or deep water areas, that uh, really wasn't as accessible as before. And so with that, we're finding more and more shark species. So as a reminder of kind of like my prediction, I think we probably have. My gut feeling is that we probably have 1,000 sharks in the world, is my guess. Right now we have 550, but we're continuing to find more and more species every year. And actually, on that note, let's see if we have a new one yet. So, funnily enough, Wikipedia is pretty well updated with the list of sharks. And the handy thing about this like list is that it actually will indicate the year of discovery. So let's just see if 2026 has anything. So currently, no species yet for 2026. 2025, we had the West Australian lantern shark, Hemipteris westraliensis. So this is a new species that was discovered about 600 meters, so it's in twilight zone, brand new from last year. So every year, typically there's at least one species. Sometimes there's up to four. I think there's like 1 to 4 shark species typically in a year, as far as discovery goes. So, but yeah, that's my prediction. Is that when all is said and done, in this current age, I think we have about 1,000 species of sharks, especially with genetics revealing more species kind of hiding in plain sight, like the Carolina hammerhead, or there's a theory that bull sharks and sandbar sharks are actually a complex of multiple species. So I'm excited to see, as time goes on, how many more species are discovered. So this species discovered in 2007. For comparison, this is when the third Pirates of the Caribbean came out. I'm sure there's more films in 2007. I think I'm not a big Transformers fan, but I think Transformers came out this year, so somewhat recent-ish. I mean, it's kind of old, but not too old. So, but this is the original description of the species here. So the original photograph of Squalus hemipinnis. So, and there's only one name, the Indonesian short-snout spur dog. I think we talked about this last week. It has pretty large eyes relative to the size of the body, and actually pretty large spiracles too. Pretty short snout, and it's going to be cool to kind of compare this shark with a couple other famous dogfish and kind of see what's similar and what's different. Prominent fin spines. The first dorsal fin is a bit smaller than the second dorsal fin spine. You can see the second dorsal fin spine pretty prominently here. In other species of dogfish, the fin spines are venomous, so we are not sure if this is a venomous shark. It probably is, and the venom for other dogfish species is fairly mild, so it's not like lethal or anything. It's been described as comparable to sea raven venom, which is kind of I think sea ravens are technically a scorpion fish, but they're in the North Atlantic. Classic dogfish, paddle-shaped upper lobe of the caudal fin with a pretty strong lower lobe, so indicates that this is a active swimmer. And you can actually see a caudal keel here, which helps the shark move through the water column with as minimum effort as possible. So when you look at the species superficially, we've got 4 famous dogfish to compare with. So let's start with the spiny dogfish. This is the famous one that's known around the world. This shark is a bit unusual compared to other dogfish species, where it lives in shallow water, whereas the majority of dogfish live in deep water. This has more of like a cylindrical body, kind of like a long, almost cigar-shaped body, lower dorsal fin spines, and definitely a longer snout. So comparing those two species, this shark has a little bit more girth to it, and definitely a bit of a shorter snout than the spiny dogfish here. The Cuban dogfish looks a little bit more closely. It looks a little bit. It is closer in appearance to the Indonesian shortsnout dogfish, where the snout of the Cuban dogfish is actually a bit smaller too. The eyes are proportionally really large and indicative of a more deep water lifestyle. Spiracles are fairly large too, so this seems pretty similar to the Indonesian short-snout dogfish. The Cuban dogfish spines are actually a bit longer on the first dorsal fin than the other shark. And then the coloration is very striking on the Cuban dogfish, so beautiful dusky blotch on the dorsal fin here. Very nice, bold white fin margins on the caudal fin, pectoral fins, and pelvic fin. So really, really pretty species there. We've got the Japanese spur dog, which is kind of like somewhere in the middle between a Cuban dogfish and a spiny dogfish. And also, it also looks somewhat like a smoothhound in profile. So I would say not quite as comparable with the Indonesian short-snout spur dog, but it's still very large eyes. It's just the snout is a little bit more pointed, I think, than the Indonesian spur dog or dogfish. Dorsal fins spines seem to be the right proportion. And then finally, another famous kind of dogfish is the Pacific spiny dogfish, Squalus sucklei. This is similar to the classic spiny dogfish in that it's an unusually shallow water shark. Usually dogfish live in deep water, so this is very different, just in terms of having a very pointed snout, long cylindrical body. It looks very similar to the spiny dogfish, and I'm actually going to put these two next to each other on the tabs. I'm going to put this one kind of in the middle. I think the Cuban dogfish is the one that is closest in appearance to the Indonesian short snout dogfish. Some notes on the Cuban dogfish for comparison, because I feel like there's not going to be a lot of notes on the Indonesian dogfish. Cuban dogfish are deep water species from the continental shelf and upper slope, found at depths of 50 to 900 meters. They feed on benthic fishes and invertebrates. Tag specimens were caught on a variety of baits including cobia, bonito, and shark. They form large, dense schools, and they typically inhabit water too deep to be encountered by divers, but are typically not aggressive. So, kind of notes to compare, just in case we don't have a lot of information on the Indonesian short snout spur dog. So, we shall see. As we'll see what we can learn about this species in particular as we continue. Let's see, so size is about 50 centimeters, so pretty small shark. 78 centimeters, nearly a meter, so it's about 2 to 3 feet for a female individual. I remember talking about this on the last stream, and actually, this is a great close-up of the fin spines. They're actually much more prominent than I saw in that first photograph. These are actually these are similar to the Cuban dogfish in the sense that they're very long, sharp spines on both dorsal fins. So not just the second dorsal fin, but both the first and second dorsal fin have long, prominent fin spines. And I remember I was kind of babbling about dermal denticles last stream, but I think I remember saying that this dogfish is dermal denticles, which are the scales on the shark that are actually they're kind of like hyper modified from the same material as teeth, like keratin, and these help reduce drag. Every shark has dermal denticles, and each shark species has a unique shape in their dermal denticles. But I remember saying that these kind of look like the French floor. I'm not exactly sure like what you call that, but like the crest on the French flag, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So I think we did get here last time. For conservation, this is a vulnerable shark species, and it could be found only in Java, and I think there's 2 other islands here too. So Bali, Java, and this last island. Let's see what this is. I'm not familiar wherever the city of Mataram is. I'm not familiar with which island this is, but kind of a localized distribution in Indonesia. So this is definitely, you could describe this as an endemic species. Assessment information. The Indonesian Shortsnout Spur Dog is a small deepwater dogfish recorded off Indonesia in Java, Bali, Lombok, and possibly Sumatra, and the Andaman Islands in the eastern Indian Ocean. It has been reported from continental and insular shelves and slopes at depths of 40 to 500 meters. The species is caught as target in incidental catch and demersal longline and gillnet fisheries operating across Indonesia, and is regularly caught and discarded live in demersal longline fisheries targeting gulper sharks. There's a high distribution overlap with intensive fishing pressure, reported declines in parts of its range, and a lack of species-specific management across its entire range. The Indonesian short-snout spur dog is estimated to have undergone a population reduction of 30 to 49% over the past 3 generations, or 72 years, based on actual levels of exploitation, and is assessed as vulnerable. So many dogfish species, because they're so slow to grow and slow to reproduce, are also vulnerable species. So this is, and actually we can compare how this shark is doing versus others. So we're going to type in the genus name Squalus. Alright, so the Indonesian short-snout dogfish is similar to the spiny dogfish, and I'm using dogfish and spur dog interchangeably. That's actually fine. Both terms are good for sharks in the genus Squalus. That's okay. It's not the same as some people confuse dogfish with smoothhounds, and those are very, very different. But spur dog and dogfish are okay to use interchangeably. So we have the spiny dogfish is vulnerable, so similar to the Indonesian short-snout dogfish. Boretz's dogfish is near threatened. I'm not familiar with that species. There's actually quite a few dogfish that are doing well. They're actually least concerned. So the Northern Pacific spiny dogfish, the bartail spur dog, the African long-nosed spur dog, and the Hawaiian spur dog, these are all doing okay. Let's see what else we have. We have Shirai's spur dog is vulnerable. We have the short-spined spur dog, Squalus mitsukurii, which is endangered. The Japanese spur dog, unfortunately, is endangered too. The green-eye spur dog is endangered. Japanese short-snout spur dog is endangered. Here's our shark, the Indonesian short-snout spur dog. The Philippine spur dog is also vulnerable. And then the Taiwan spur dog is endangered. This is actually such an interesting mix because I would say like half of these dogfish are threatened and half of them are actually doing okay. So as far as species that are doing fine, we have Smith spur dog is fine, fat spine spur dog, northern spiny dogfish, which I'm not familiar with, Squalus griffini. What is this one? Oh, this is in New Zealand. Interesting. So it's a New Zealand kind of dogfish. Oops. There's a northern spiny dogfish. Jeannie's dogfish, named after Eugenie Clark, so the famous ichthyologist. That's actually really cool. Cyrano spur dog is near threatened. Kermadec spiny dogfish, Seychelles spur dog, and then short-nosed spur dog. These are all least concerned. So it's actually really interesting. It's a mix. I feel like it's a fairly even mix of threatened species and non-threatened species. So dogfish typically are very abundant sharks, but they also have terrible life history parameters where they're very slow growing and slow to mature. So that doesn't really help them in the face of fishing pressure. I think we did touch base on fish base last week. This is actually a nice photo of the species. See if we can get a better view. Species is distinguished by the following set of characters: slender body of moderate size, relatively narrow and very short snout. Secondary lobe of interior nasal flap is well developed. Small dorsal fins that are strongly raked. First dorsal fin spine is moderate, broad-based, while the second dorsal fin spine is moderate, robust, and broad-based. Weakly falcate pectoral fin in adults. I think this photo is slow to load. I'm gonna check something here. Okay. Okay, there we go. This is really, really slow to load, so I don't want to like take up too much time. So let me just X out of here. See if we can find some other photos of species. This one is actually kind of interesting. This is from 2018. It's a little grainy, but you can actually see a couple interesting things, especially the reflective eyes. So this is a characteristic of deep water sharks. A lot of lantern sharks in particular, and actually deep water cat sharks have reflective eyes too. So, really indicative of a twilight zone species that is trying to maximize the available light in a deep water environment. Let's confirm, by the way, that this is a twilight zone shark. I believe it is. Yes, so this is a shark that lives in 40 meters to 500 meters. So 40 to 200 is sunlit zone, but 200 to 500 is twilight. So this is a shark that it might make deal migrations, so following deep water prey items up to the surface at night. A lot of dogfish do that, but it might be spending its daylight hours in the depths. So it's a really, really interesting. The reflective eyes are just a really cool adaptation. Alright, I think we'll dive right into some research and then maybe look at some clips too. So this is something we haven't reviewed last week, so this is all new. New records of sharks from the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago in India with notes on current checklist. The diversity of sharks occurring off the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago in India has received increased attention in recent years. Yet available checklists are out of date, often with inaccurate information, and a number of commercially important species have not been documented through research and fish landing surveys. Here we report on shark species examined during fish landing surveys conducted from January 2017 to April 2018. Records of 12 previously unreported species from the archipelago are presented and include the big-nose shark, pig-eye shark. So this is actually really cool. These are both really large Carcharodontis sharks, bull shark, snaggletooth shark, so this is one of our favorite viewers' favorite sharks, slender weasel shark, Arabian smoothhound shark, Indonesian hound shark, sand tiger shark, Indonesian bamboo shark, tawny nurse shark, dwarf gulper shark, and the Indonesian shortsnout spur dog. These records increase the reported shark species for the archipelago from 47 to 59, and for India from 114 to 116. Additionally, a size extension in the total length of Carcharodontis hasselletii. I'm sorry, that's not correct. Chilascilium hasselletii, so this is a bamboo shark, by 27 centimeters, and P. rendali, so this is Paragaleus rendali, the slender weasel shark, by 8 centimeters is reported. Owing to the biogeographical location of these islands, species diversity around the archipelago is unique and appears to overlap with that of Southeast Asia. With increasing reports of overexploitation and the operation of a targeted shark fishery by distant water fleets in these waters, the limited information on shark diversity from this region is of concern. Systematic and long-term monitoring of catches, combined with accurate species identification, is crucial to provide information on management measures. Let's see. I'm just going to zoom ahead to this dogfish specifically. Saying it's a new species in this area. Oh, and actually I didn't realize this. This is where the photograph came from. Wow, actually, so they actually have photographs of all the sharks, all the new sharks that they hadn't seen before. So here we go. Just for it's good to have a visual. So just have a closer look. So this is the big nose shark, Carcharodontis ultimus. This shark gets confused with sandbar sharks quite often. At least in the Atlantic, they get confused just because they both have a pretty large dorsal fin. But big nose sharks have a more prominent snout, hence their name, and that's the way to help identify them. The pig-eye shark, Carcharodontis amboinensis, this one is really, really difficult because this looks so close to a bull shark. They look almost identical, where I forget what there's a very minor difference between them, but pig-eye sharks are probably the closest living thing to a bull shark. I don't know if they occupy the same kind of habitat. They're both shallow water sharks, but I don't know if pig-eye sharks go into... I think they go into estuaries, but I don't know if they go into full rivers. But this species is so similar to bull sharks. It's really scary how close they look. Because here, as an example, is a bull shark, Carcharodontis lucus. So the infamous bull shark, the dangerous species that will travel up rivers around warm waters around the world, but the largest bull shark, kind of fun fact, in the world was actually caught in India. So I believe it was like a 350 kilo shark. It's an enormous individual, but the world record of bull shark was actually held by the Chennai bull shark, so caught off of Chennai, India. So it is a very bull shark friendly place. We've got the snaggletooth shark, and actually a really great photograph of the insane teeth. Look at that. So you can see such a difference where the upper teeth are these really broad, like really broad blades that are just, they have these like very deep serrations, and then the lower teeth are these like really nasty looking needles that are so numerous and just bristling. Hey Tim, welcome back. Good to see you. Hope you had a good week. I don't know if you saw last week's stream, but I had to stop in the middle of it just because I was developing food poisoning live, which was really bad. Fortunately, nothing bad happened. But question: I have a question. Re-advice: keeping eye contact with shark. Can sharks really detect if you're looking at them, or is it just a way to remind people to keep an eye on the shark? That's a great question. I think it is always very wise to keep an eye on a shark, especially a larger shark in the water. I don't think a shark... This is actually an interesting question, because I think a shark can't see your eyes, through the scuba mask, typically. It depends, unless the visibility is really good. But it still can perceive that you're facing it, because the mask still, looks like something. It still looks like a pair of eyes or something. it's still a shape that a shark probably knows it's being watched. So um, I think I'm not really sure how a shark reacts to. Well, actually, I am a little bit. Sorry, this is a good question. I'm thinking it through. So white sharks, they kind of it if you face a white shark, like if you face a white shark, that's not a normal prey response, and so that's something that it wouldn't deter them, but it would kind of make them think a little bit, and maybe change their strategy a little bit. So if you face a white shark, it's much better than if you were swimming away from it, because if you're swimming away from it, you're acting like a prey item, and it will go after you. And actually, it's a good rule for kind of any shark, because like sharks are, it depends on the species, but a lot of them are just very very cautious, and they may be interested in you, but they don't want to do anything that would put themselves in danger. So like if you're facing it, if you keep an eye on it, it's safe for you, and it's a good thing to do, just so you can be best prepared. But also, it's also something that kind of like I wouldn't say it psychs the shark out, but it is something that gives them more pause than if you were swimming away from it. So and then the big cue for white sharks, which I actually didn't know this for the longest time, is that if you swim up to the surface and you're splashing around the surface, that is a prey response. But if you stick to the bottom and kind of like crawl back to the shore, if you can, but if you're just like facing the shark and sticking to the bottom, you're acting like not a prey item, and that kind of helps, not deter them, but just kind of communicate that don't eat me. I'm not worth your time. I remember my mom and dad telling me that people wore masks on the back of their head when walking in forests in India to keep tigers from attacking. What if wearing a mask on the back of your head? So what's really cool about that is the tiger mask thing is real for tigers, and that works for tigers. For sharks, I wouldn't bother, because I think you create a bigger problem where if you're wearing like a mask behind your head, it just gets in the way of the rest of your scuba stuff, or even if you're like spearfishing, just it's more of a hassle than it's worth, because it's uncomfortable, and it just would get in the way of more stuff and kind of more vital equipment. So I would just like manually face it if you see it. And especially since shark attacks are so rare and they're so astronomically unlikely, it's just better to be comfortable. And that's actually just for diving in general. That is the best piece of advice, is like always do everything you can to be the most comfortable possible in the water, because you're gonna need that in an emergency situation where you want to make sure that your baseline is very comfortable, so that you can focus on resolving a problem if a problem presents itself. So like if you went into the water with just gear that doesn't fit, or it's like shifty and it's kind of irritating, that's already kind of psychologically a layer of something you're dealing with. And then if you get into a real emergency, it's easier to overload and panic. Whereas if you're completely comfortable and at ease, it's much better to think clearly and just kind of proceed with whatever you need to do. So love these questions. Clearly random thoughts from someone who has never used scuba. Glad for the advice. No, it's good. I mean, these are good questions. And actually, what's kind of funny is that, I think the general public doesn't really know. Or let me phrase that. I guess with anything, like watching scuba diving, like on a nature special, or like a movie or something. It like they make it look so easy, and I guess that's with anything, like professional martial arts, or like driving a motorcycle or something. Like it looks easy, but there's all these nuances that go into how that looks easy. And so kind of related to that, like I remember when I started diving, I had no idea all the things that kind of went into it behind the scenes. Like as far as like just all the training you have to do, and like all the things you have to watch out for, as far as like breathing, and how fast and slow you ascend, and panic, and how you like manage just it's kind of like a mental game. It's really it's a very good mental sport. Like I used to run cross country, and similarly, cross country is a mental sport. It's like you're running and you're physical, but a lot of it is about psychology, and a lot of it is about like pushing your body to kind of get into a zone that you can keep running. And similarly, diving, there's a psychology to it in terms of like making sure you're comfortable and maintaining the maximum amount of comfort, so you can just operate safely and handle situations like if you run into a shark safely. And the great thing is most sharks. The great thing is most dives will have the shark. Sadly, just because they're really difficult to encounter. Like not. Let me phrase it. They're usually shy. They usually stay in the water during the daytime. Just kind of as a general rule. So it's not the easiest thing to run into. So I mean, it's almost kind of like you want to run into one, like because like just in most normal situations, it would be really rare to see a shark. I'm going to be diving in a couple weeks, and I'm really excited. And I want to see like at least like a little one where we're going, but we'll see. It's actually going to be really cool because it's July, and at this time of year, this is the most subtropical this part of the ocean gets, where we'll get like butterfly fish kind of like wandering up this way. You get triggerfish. You can get lionfish, which is really rare. Like these are all like animals that shouldn't be here, but just kind of get caught up in the Gulf Stream and are swept this far north. Then shark-wise, we have like bonnetheads, hammerheads, bull sharks, little sandbar sharks, and sharp-nose sharks. Or I should say little sharp-nose sharks. So I'm hoping to see like a little shark, but we'll see. Like I will say, kind of where we're going, I think there's a good chance I'll see like a ray. I probably won't run into a shark, but fingers crossed. I hope I do. So, sorry, kind of rambling, but these are great questions. I really appreciate the questions. We got a weasel shark here. So this is Paragaleus. So these are the new species described in the this paper about the Andaman Islands or Andaman Archipelago in India. We have, looks like another weasel shark, Musselus. So this is a smoothhound, Musselus moses. So these guys are so cool. I think they're they're sharks that stick close to the bottom and eat shellfish predominantly, but they have such a really cool look as far as like they have these really tall dorsal fins. They just have this streamlined, elegant appearance. Like I love smoothhound sharks, and the ones that we have in Virginia, they actually can change the color of their skin, and I'm kind of curious if other smoothhounds can do that too. It's kind of similar to squid how they do that, but it's just so cool. We have another shark here, Hemitriacus. So this is another kind of smoothhound, or actually I think this is its own family, Hemitriacidae. So this is kind of a close cousin of smoothhound sharks. What else do we have? A sand tiger shark, so critically endangered species actually. So the famous Carcharias taurus, with the famous bristling needle-like teeth, which is great for catching fishes. Oh, cool question. Were you interested in scuba independently, or was it a means to study sharks? So definitely a means to study sharks. But I fell in love with diving though, just because it's like predominantly my interest has been a way to try to be with sharks, but the actual sport of diving is just super fun because it's just like you're completely immersed. You're away from everything, where you're diving down and like the surface is back there, and it's just kind of cool to think about that. Like, if you have a job or obligations or whatever, it's all back there, and you're in this entirely different world where you depending on where you are, you might see these like really cool like aquatic or marine animals, and you might be just kind of in this like cool empty blue space, and I find it really peaceful. And actually, you're breathing like Darth Vader, which sounds kind of strange, but like that's actually the inspiration, or not the inspiration. That's actually the sound effect for Darth Vader's voice. That's actually like it's a scuba apparatus that they recorded. But you're just kind of like breathing like that, just slowly and deliberately, and it's a very steady, very peaceful pace. Just a very zen, mellow, nice experience, and yet it's also exciting where you're just kind of like flying and hovering through all these places. Just my right now I have only a few dives under my belt, but even those I've really enjoyed. Where it's been different environments. I think one of my favorite views has been in my training dives. I was in a lake, and it was just really cool being on a ledge and just looking into this abyss of nothingness. Just kind of like there's this like really extreme rocky ledge that I'm like 40 feet down, and I'm looking to my right, and there's just like nothing, just this green blue void, and it's like kind of scary and yet also kind of thrilling in a weird way. I love diving. It's just in itself it's a really fun sport, but I especially love seeing critters and animals and just just seeing surprises. As far as you know I think my last favorite animal encounter on a dive was a sea robin from last year, which they're really cool fish that have these like highly modified pectoral fins that kind of look like. And actually, I could probably find a picture of it. Sea robin. No, actually, that was a good picture right there. So they have these like very modified fins that these actually look like they look like insect legs, and these fishes like crawl on these like modified fin rays, and it's such a weird looking animal. And they're very pretty. They usually have these like really big fins, so they're just these very elegant fish. But that's probably like my last favorite kind of wild animal encounter. But I'm hoping to see some elasmobranchs on the next dive, so we'll see what happens. But I could see this because sand tiger sharks are back this time of year, and they do stick to the shallow water, so that would be really, really cool to see. And these are completely harmless. They look intense, but they're actually really docile sharks. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Really, really hope to run into something cool. And thank you for the question. It's a really cool question. We have a carpet shark, Chilascilium. So these are cousins of nurse sharks, and you can actually see the characteristic barbels of carpet sharks. Very fat, squashy sharks that spend their time on the seabed for the most part. Pretty slow swimmers. We have an actual nurse shark here. This one is not the classic nurse shark. It's the tawny nurse shark, Nebrius. So these guys are actually really cool. They have these cool sickle-shaped pectoral fins. You can actually kind of see very distantly how these sharks are related to whale sharks, where it's like they're pretty flat in shape, and they have these mouths right at the forward edge of their heads. Here you can actually see the nurse shark's jaws, which has these like really nice row of modified teeth that are flat. So these are great for crushing shellfish, and these guys get to be pretty big. We have what looks like a gulper shark. So these are very rare deep water sharks, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is a Centrophorus, which is a gulper shark. So these are distant cousins of dogfish. You can see a lot of damage, like a lot of the skin peeling. This is probably due to the shark being hauled up to the surface, unfortunately. Just because the changes in pressure have such an impact on the body. So this is very damaged specimen, sadly. And then here is our dogfish, which lives in the twilight zone. So this is the Indonesian Shortsnout spur dog. So you can see less damage. This shark is a little bit more intact, and that might be reflective of its depth. It's kind of hard to tell. But this is that photograph with the reflective green eyes. So I really, really like just kind of seeing that, because this is a feature that helps this shark maximize light in deep water environments. So, and a lot of deep water sharks have these reflective green eyes. So the cat sharks and lantern sharks both have that. And also, a nice view of the dorsal fin spines, both very prominent. So, really cool photo of the shark. Alright, let's see what other notes we have here. These first records of Squalus hemipinnis increased the total species records in Indian waters to 116. Squalus hemipinnis has been considered an endemic to Indonesia, with the only accessible records from Bali, Java, Lombok, and possibly Sumatra. Interesting. So it looks like the range has expanded, which is probably good for the species, conservation-wise. So yeah, very interesting study. So. Oh, good question. Do the barbs have special sensory purposes? So I think this was in reference to the carpet shark, and I believe yes. And I forget how it works as far as nurse shark barbels and carpet shark barbels. So you can see them here. That's actually a really good question, and let's check out Florida Museum of Natural History, nurse shark, because I'm sure this website will actually have information on it. All right, so Florida Museum of Natural History has a lot of great introductory shark knowledge, like shark facts. It's a good first reference. So let's see. It says it does have nasal barbels. Okay, moderately large barbels reach the mouth. No notes on why nurse sharks have barbels. So let's try the tawny nurse shark, which is also in Florida Museum. No notes or barbels here. Let's see. Maybe we could just Google it. Why? What do nurse shark barbels do? I think it's sensory related. Because just with the location, but let's see. Yeah, okay. So nurse shark barbels are specialized whisker-like sensory organs that hang below their nostrils. They help the shark hunt by acting as both touch and taste receptors, allowing them to detect bottom-dwelling prey like crabs, lobsters, and small fish hidden beneath the sand. This is from, as a source, the New England Aquarium, which is a good source. And it looks like they have a captive nurse shark here, and you can see the prominent barbels here. Let's see. Barbels are just like whiskers on a cat. These barbels are fleshy appendages that hang below their nostrils. As the nurse sharks rummage in the sand, the barbels pick up on stuff they may be hunting for, such as shellfish and other food items. So awesome! Learned something new. And actually, these barbels are also where the nurse shark got its name, because this sounds ridiculous, but whoever named the nurse shark kind of attributed the barbels to like nipples. It's really weird. It's kind of a bizarre interpretation, but that like nursing is kind of where that name came from. So that's why nurse sharks are called nurse sharks. But I don't know how. I'm sure that person was not an ichthyologist, and if they were, I don't know what they were thinking. So as far as naming this species, and actually, this would be a cool shark to, if you were to rename it. I think this would be a pretty good one to rename, as far as an English name goes, just because it's there's so many other features about these sharks, whereas they're these large, flat sharks that are pretty voracious and harmless, but just have such a unique characteristics that in terms of their behavior, that I think we could probably have done better than nurse shark. So let's see. I think we'll keep learning more about the Indonesian, and actually, I just realized it's 9:40. This probably is a good time to talk about the new Shark Week contest that we do every year. So I mentioned last week that I would throw a hint And I'll publish the official rules this weekend. But yeah, I guess we'll just get started. So every year on this channel, we do a Shark Week banner contest where our viewers create a new piece of art for the channel banner. So I'm just gonna pull up the main page of the channel here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. And I wonder if I can just click on... No, I guess it won't take me there. But, so we have the banner here from last year. So this was... Howard Kerr was last year's winner. I think the prompt last year was biodiversity of sharks in the Gulf of Mexico. So he did this really great work of a lot of species from different parts of the Gulf of Mexico. So deep water, shallow water sharks. So Howard was last year's Shark Week contest winner. This year we're going to do a new theme, and it's going to be basically a mystery shark. And I'm going to give you the clues in a little bit. But essentially, like what it is that viewers will have a couple weeks to create the new banners, and then submit the banners to Dr. Jaws at Dr. Jaws Sharks at Gmail is the channel's email address. So if you could submit your banner submissions, and I'll have the rules in terms of specifications, and create a banner depicting the mystery shark. And I'll give the hints in a little bit, but it will be kind of a fun contest where it's like, one, can you guess this shark correctly, and two, what will the quality of the artwork be? So, so based on the correct answers, and correct answers come before quality, so correct answers first, and then quality will be judged later. The winner will be announced, and they will be given a new mystery prize. So we're not doing the fossil teeth. We typically do fossil teeth and some special Dr. Jaws books, typically for the past contest. But this is a brand new prize that I'm going to keep under wraps until the day of. But the only hint for the new prize is that there are, I think, at least 5 to 7 shark species involved in the new prize for this year. So I'm really excited. I think this is actually probably going to be the coolest banner contest yet. So I think without further ado, because we do have a few viewers already, this is the hint. This is the first sneak peek. I've never posted anything on the channel yet about this year's contest. I'll post the official rules this weekend, but you guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight, because you will get the first hint. So here we go. And I'm going to zoom in. So your challenge is describe this shark with a drawing, and these are the hints. And remember, there's 550 sharks in the world, but these are very well chosen clues that will help narrow down the correct answer. So your first clue is that this shark has a nictitating membrane. So we've talked about nictitating membranes multiple times on the streams. So that will narrow down what species this is, or narrow down the field, if you will. This shark eats marine mammals. So another thing that we talk about multiple times on the stream, it's really unusual for a shark to go after marine mammals. In our pop culture idea of sharks, we think that they're these like big, voracious, apex predators that are just like going after seals and dolphins all the time, and they're just the big bad animals. But really, like the majority, if you were to average all sharks down, they're on average kind of small deep water animals. They're like there's only a handful of sharks that actually can go after large prey items. So this is actually a really big hint in terms of what species this is. Number 3 is the largest of its genus. So it is the largest member of its genus. So that could mean that it's a genus with multiple members. It could mean it's the genus is only one member. It doesn't matter. Just as long as it meets the requirement, the largest of its genus, that's the correct answer. And then finally, this is just shout out to where I live and just where we're broadcasting from. This species lives in Virginia. And what I'm excited about is that this is actually a little bit of a challenge because there are some sources that will kind of, give you a list of sharks that you can find here, and there's some that are just like not complete. So yeah. So between these 4 clues, I am very confident that you can narrow down 550 sharks to the answer, and the challenge is to describe the answer. And I'm going to post these rules. Thank you. I love his comment, Tim. This is awesome. First time to be part of this. And also, so if I get all the answers right, but my drawing skills are limited to 6-figure sharks, yes, that is fine. So, and actually, it's kind of a cool strategy where as long as the answer is right, that is what comes first. So if you drew a stick figure shark, as long as you identify what that species is, and you should probably write the species name in it, as long as you identify what the species is, and if you drew like a stick figure, and it has to be a shark, it can't be like a smiley face, it has to be an actual effort of a shark. But if you draw a shark and, it's the correct answer, it will take precedence over this beautiful masterpiece that is the wrong answer. So the right answer comes first, and then the quality of the art will be the next thing to be judged. So you guys have a head start with these clues. I think there's about a few viewers here, which is exciting. So good luck, and I will post these clues and the official rules this weekend. But yeah, yeah. This I think this is acceptable. I just saw Tim's comment on the emoji shark would actually be acceptable. Just because it's a valiant effort. It is an effort. It is an effort of a shark. As long as it is discernibly a shark, as long as it's the right answer, it would count. So, good luck, and actually, I'll just post this here too. Yeah, there we go. So submit your answers to that address by, I think Shark Week is the end of July this year. So I'll post the end date, but we definitely have a couple weeks. So I'll post the end date on the channel page this week. But yeah, so I look forward to everybody's submission. I love these contests. These are one of my favorite things to do on the channel. And again, this will be a really exciting mystery prize with, I think, if I remember correctly, there are at least 5 species involved in the prize. I think there's actually more. So yeah, but good luck, and we'll return to our usual programming with the Indonesian Shortsnout Dogfish. So here we go. I'm gonna type in the chat, or type in the search hemipinnis. Okay, so this actually has a lot. This is Squalus hemipinnis, a new short snout spur dog from eastern Indonesia. I think this might be the original description. So here we go. I think this is actually. All right. A new species of spur dog, Squalus hemipinnis, is described based on specimens from eastern Indonesia. This species differs from other squalus species in the region in a combination of coloration, meristics, and morphometrics of the head, trunk, and fins. Squalus hemipinnis does not conform to any of the widely recognized squalus subgroups, instead sharing characteristics with several groups. Squalus hemipinnis is a short snout typified by members of the Megalops cubensis group. So that's actually really cool because you know how we said earlier that kind of think the shark looks a little bit like the Cuban dogfish, and this is actually Squalus cubensis. So that actually, it's kind of cool to see that observation is in sync with this research paper, which I just lost. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, with this research paper where it looks like, yeah, even scientists agree that it looks similar to the Cuban dogfish. But also is a dark caudal bar and juveniles typical of the Mitsukurii group. Its low vertebral count is unusual within Squalus. All right. So I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just kind of breeze through and see what we can glean. Market surveys of various landing sites in eastern Indonesia between April 2001 and March 2006 produced a wide variety of new or poorly known sharks, skates, rays, and chimeras, including undescribed squalids. Among this material were 4 members of the genus Squalus, including one particularly abundant species that is very distinct from its congeners and does not conform to any of those recognized Squalus complexes. The species, which can be distinguished from sympatric relatives by the combination of a relatively short snout, deeply forked second dorsal fin, and the presence of broad caudal bar in juveniles, is described based on available Indonesian material. Comparisons are made with other species of Squalus from the Indo-West Pacific. Let's see. So it looks like they compared it to... Oh, I guess it won't tell me that. Oh, here we go. So a couple other images of this species. So you have the original description here, as well as a preserved specimen on the top. You can actually see this is a great example of what preservation does. Preservation on sharks, and I'm not sure if they use formaldehyde or alcohol, but you can immediately see what a difference, where you preserve the shape, but you have very strong discoloration. You have frayed fin rays in the dorsal fin. I used to work with a lot of preserved specimens in the Nunnally Ichthyology collection at VIMS, or Virginia Institute of Marine Science. And the value of preserved specimens is that they can remain, if they're well preserved, they can remain for over 100 years. And they could be a catalog in terms of like physical features or genetics, or they kind of like are a library or a record of like the occurrence of an animal in a certain place. And specimens like this can be very helpful as far as informing scientists on where you can maybe perhaps find something, or in the case of, say, there's a specimen, like in the case of like the lost shark, there are specimens of lost shark that were taken from a certain location, and that location doesn't have those sharks anymore. Having a record of that even existed there at all is very valuable to help inform scientists in terms of determining this may be an extinct species, or it just may have been extirpated from this area. So there's a variety of valuable advantages of preserved specimens like this that do benefit science. It's lurid to see, but it can be beneficial. So. Color. When fresh, slate gray above, white below, light and dark tonal areas sharply demarcated on head. Let's see. Caudal fin mainly grayish with a broad white posterior margin. So that's actually similar to what we said about Squalus cubensis. This beautiful broad white posterior margin here. This is one of the prettiest dogfish, actually. It's really, really subtle but beautiful color pattern on Cuban dogfish. Distribution known only from eastern Indonesia between Cilacap and central Java, and Tanjung Laur in eastern Lombok, where it is the most abundant squaloid targeted by demersal long-lived fishers. Depth distribution unknown, as existing material was collected from fish markets in eastern Indonesia, but likely to be deeper than 100 meters. Oh, this is good. Fish-based did not have this. So etymology. So the Latin name is derived from the combination of the Greek hemi, or half, and the Latin pinna, fin, an allusion to its strongly notched V-shaped posterior margin of the second dorsal fin. So this right here. So this is where this bottom photograph. This is where the species gets its name from. So hemipinnis, half a fin. So it's an because you can see for the first dorsal fin, it's pretty broad, and there's not really a deep notch here. The second dorsal fin, there is a very deep notch. So pretty interesting. Let's see. Squalus hemipinnis could be distinguished from all other members of the genus by the combination of a short megalops-like snout, deeply notched second dorsal fin, posterior margin, strongly demarcated dorsal coloration, very low number of precaudal centra, and other morphometric and color details. Okay, and this is interesting. So juvenile coloration of the caudal fin. So you're saying there's a dark caudal bar here. You can kind of see that, actually, like that dusky feature right in the middle of the caudal fin. So, pretty interesting. Good question, Tim. Are the spines to protect against predation? So yes, and actually, what's kind of cool, I don't know about this species, but I'm gonna make an assumption based on how spiny dogfish behave. Spiny dogfish will actually coil their bodies to kind of like arc their spines out, so that they can like stab any prey item that is kind of harassing them. The dogfish will arch their backs to kind of try to stab any predator with the venom, and the fin spines are mildly venomous, which is pretty interesting. I think, did we cover everything? I think we covered everything for this paper. So I think to kind of get away from some research, it might be good to take a look at how other dogfish behave. So we have a couple clips here of cousins of the Indonesian short-snout spur dog in the wild. So this is a spiny dogfish, so the classic species that, again, is unusual in the sense that it could be found in both shallow and deep water. What I like about this clip is it shows you these two laser lights. These are set at a fixed distance, so let's assume this is like 10 centimeters. These help measure objects in the ocean and help get an idea of like how large something is. So if that's 10 centimeters, you can see that the dogfish, by comparison, is like maybe 40, 50 centimeters. So the laser lights are really cool as a very clever way to kind of measure things that you can't reach out and do directly. Some more clips on the spiny dogfish. So this is a cousin of the Indonesian short-snout spur dog. So this clip is in Scotland of spiny dogfish with another elazobrink, which is a skate over there. Really beautiful skate. I'm not sure which species this is, but very, very pretty. Skates are cousins of rays. I mean, they are a type of ray technically, but they don't have stingers. So, and ironically, the dogfish here do, in terms of they have the fin spines on the dorsal fin. A great clip of a dogfish handling a piece of bait that was given to it. And actually, here's a great clip of a dogfish just sitting on the seabed. Because these sharks can actually, they're active swimmers, but they can actually sit on the bottom and pump water over their gills and take a break if they need to. So it's cool to see a shark that does both. Nice photobomb of a dogfish checking out the camera. Here's another kind of laser clip of northern Pacific spiny dogfish. So these are not the same as spiny dogfish. They were relatively recently described as a different species. And you can see there's a bunch of them here. So this is actually, this is where dogfish get their name. They remind people of a pack of dogs where they will gather in these very, very large schools. They're very active sharks that hunt together. So similar to like bloodhounds or beagles, these sharks sniff around and go after prey items as one mass. So that's where the term dogfish comes from. Excuse me. Excuse me. This is a really cool dive in Norway. And Norway is an amazing place to do temperate scuba diving, but this is more spiny dogfish footage. So again, just to compare with the Indonesian short-snout spur dog, since we don't really have footage of that species because it's relatively new and it's relatively unknown, it's kind of nice to compare with a member of the same genus to sort of, get an idea of maybe how these animals move. But, it's cool to see these dogfish. Oh, that's the scuba signal for shark. Is you make a fin on your head. Excuse me. So really cool to see how these animals move. You can see that they swim very comfortably in the mid-water column. They can chill out on the bottom if they need to, but otherwise they are active swimmers and good swimmers, where they have those really strong caudal fins that help them cruise through a variety of environments. And beautiful coloration. You can see just the eyes are like this really pretty golden color. Now this is an interesting clip of a different species. This is Squalus megalops. So this is actually a cousin of the Cuban dogfish. This is a shark that actually is a little bit more closely related to the Cuban dogfish, and actually more closely related to the Indonesian shortsnout spur dog than the spiny dogfish. So it's actually cool to compare with this species. And this is a very adorable little shark that's avoiding predation by this fish that I'm not familiar with what kind of fish that is, because that looks almost like a triggerfish or a filefish back there. But this fish with the big eyes, I'm not really sure what it is. It almost looks like a scorpionfish or a sculpin. And the little shark is successfully avoiding that predator. But like all dogfish, it is armed with the dorsal fin spines that will help deter. If it was captured, it would help deter the fish from fully ingesting it. So. Really cute little shark, and actually a better approximation of what the Indonesian short-snout spur dog probably behaves like, just because it looks more similar to the species in the Cuban dogfish than it does the spiny dogfish. A couple more clips. We have a really good clip of a spiny dogfish sitting on the seabed. So this is actually a great view of how these sharks can just sit comfortably and actually pump water over their gills, so they don't need to move if they don't want to. They can take a rest at any time on the seafloor, which is so cool to think about. A lot of sharks do need to keep swimming in order to breathe. Like hammerheads are the best example, but dogfish, they can take a break if they want to. So, and offers really exciting opportunities for divers to kind of come up to these animals and get some good shots. And you can actually see the beautiful white spotting on the flanks of the dogfish here. Last clip, I just thought this was really cool. This is looks like either a night dive or deep water dive, but you see all these like hagfish, these like creepy eel-like looking things, and the dogfish swimming around them. So it's actually a really cool meeting of these two very ancient classes of animals. So hagfish are not bony fish; they are in their own category of agnathins or jawless fish. And then the dogfish, of course, are in the class Chondrichthyes, so cartilaginous fish. So it looks like the dogfish are excited by this bait item. And it looks like there's a bunch of squid here, too. Squid and krill or shrimp, it's hard to tell. So what a cool night dive where you can really see just like the bonanza of a nighttime environment where a lot of these animals are probably hiding in the daytime and then at night they feel more comfortable coming out. And this is part of why a lot of sharks are more active at night, just because their prey items are more active at night. So really cool shot of dogfish clamping down on a bait bag, and they're twisting their whole body to try to get to it. So I'll just rewind just to see the hagfish. So those like really like creepy eel looking things in the bottom, those are hagfish. So just wanted to kind of like take a look at them just because they're such a unusual group of animals. They don't have jaws. They kind of rasp at things kind of like snails do. They're really really creepy. So pretty cool to see a whole seabed of hagfish swimming alongside dogfish in these cold. I think this is still Norway, Norwegian waters. So very very cool. All right. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of keep going with some science, and then we'll leave it open for what next week's stream will be. We can continue to do a single species, kind of like the classic format, or we could do a region, because the region episodes have been pretty interesting to do. So if you have a region you would like to cover, or a particular shark species, please leave a comment in the chat. Since we've covered a lot of sharks already, maybe a couple different families of sharks or genuses, or a region. So we can do, as an example, maybe a new kind of smoothhound shark, or we could do a part of the world like the Caribbean or like South Africa or something. So we've already covered New Zealand and Hawaii, so plenty of other places in the sea to explore. If there's any particular requests, so please let me know in the comments before we continue with the Indonesian Shortsnout Dog. Oh hey, Gulf of Mexico. All right, we could definitely do sharks at Gulf of Mexico. It's a really good pick. So we'll do. I'll type that in the chat. And that's actually going to be a really fun episode. Sharks of the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to be a really fun episode because there's so many cool areas in the Gulf that, off the top of my head, there's actually probably a lot of good footage of shark diving in that area. So let me go back here. Sorry. Sorry, that's a really good suggestion. So, because for that area, you have a National Marine Sanctuary, which are the flower garden banks. I'm pretty sure in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't think they're in. Sometimes I get confused with. I think Gray's Reef. There's the Gray's Reef and flower garden banks. I'm pretty sure flower garden banks are in Gulf of Mexico, and Gray's Reef is off Georgia. But anyway, there's a National Marine Sanctuary, which will be really cool opportunities to explore. There's a bunch of oil rigs in the area that actually do attract sharks. So oil rigs, weirdly enough, can actually be interesting areas that you see a lot of silky sharks or offshore sharks that kind of congregate near the rig, just because the structure of the rig creates habitat for like barnacles and like sponges and things that actually are going to be fouling up the arms, and that kind of habitat where these invertebrates are attract fish, and the fish attract sharks. So there's that. But more famously, there's diving in Yucatan, I believe. A lot of really cool bull shark dives in particular. So next week, Sharks of the Gulf of Mexico. It's a really good pick, so we'll definitely do that. And then Tim, are hagfish prey for the dogfish? It's a good question. I actually don't know, and the reason I'm pausing is typically dogfish could eat anything smaller than them, so I'm pretty sure. And actually, What we could do is I could actually, I have Fishes of the Gulf of Maine, which does have both dogfish and spiny dogfish and hagfish, and I'm pretty sure there's a summary of what these animals eat. So I'm gonna predict. I'm gonna go grab it because it's a good question, and I'm gonna predict yes. The only reason I'm hesitating is hagfish have this very unique defense mechanism where these weird animals have they're very long bodies, and they're very slimy too, and they will actually tie themselves into a knot and anchor themselves in such a way where they make it impossible for a predator to kind of like chomp down on them. So they'll kind of like free themselves. They kind of make themselves into like a slip knot and slip away. They're really, really weird. So that's the only thing that makes me hesitate. But I think otherwise, I'm going to bet the dogfish do eat hagfish. So we will check right now. So I'll be right back. 1 second. There we go. So this is one of my favorite books, actually. This is Fishes of the Gulf of Maine by Bigelow and Schroeder. This is actually a kind of like a cool staple of American or North American fisheries or marine biology. Bigelow and Schroeder are some like pretty foundational ichthyologists that help kind of paint the picture of what this region or what a lot of regions in the world, kind of like what animals occur there, but particularly the Northwest Atlantic. They've done a lot of work here, so it's a really cool book with these kind of like fun illustrations and these details on sharks and fishes and just you know, charts, weather, fisheries history. So a lot of great information here. But let's see what Fishes of the Gulf of Maine has to say about dogfish diet, because dogfish are some of the most well-studied sharks. Here we go. All right. So, and actually, one thing I also love about this book is that it's a little bit prosaic. So here we go. Voracious almost beyond belief, dogfish deserve their bad reputation among many fishermen. Not only do they harass and drive off mackerel, herring, and even fish as large as cod and haddock, but they consume vast numbers of them. Fishermen reportedly have described packs of dogfish dashing among schools of mackerel, and even attacking them within the seines, biting through the net, and releasing much of the catch. Fishes constitute the major food category in the stomachs of 2,600 spiny dogfish. Let's see, so they eat herring, menhaden, river herrings, capelin, sand lance, and mackerel. They'll also eat wolffish, which I didn't know that, flatfishes, jellyfish, polychaetes, ctenophores, amphipod shrimps, crabs, snails, octopuses, squid, sea cucumbers. Okay, so it doesn't say anything about hagfish. So I'm gonna check out the hagfish section and see what. Oh, hagfish are not in here. Interesting. They should be. Hold on. Oh, they are in here. I'm sorry. Yeah, they are in here. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, predators. There we go. Okay, hagfish have been identified in the stomach contents of cod, spiny dogfish, harbor seal, and harbor porpoise. So, thank you, Bigelow and Schroeder. Dogfish eat hagfish. So we have that officially confirmed. So thank you for the question, Tim. That definitely piqued my curiosity, and I needed that solved. So that's actually really cool to have that confirmed. That and this is why science is important. It's just nice to have information, like recorded information, where we kind of know how the world works, and that's actually really cool that we were able to pull that up pretty quickly. So dogfish eat hagfish. I think we'll do. We might end the stream a little bit earlier just because I don't think there's a lot more on the short spine spur dog. So I will go through the rest of the research that's available. And then if we don't have any more info, we might call it early. So we'll see. We'll see as we kind of read through and learn what we can learn. So aspects of maturation and reproduction of hexantiform and squaliform sharks. Saying that the Indonesian short-spined spur dog is one of the most abundant sharks caught in Indonesia. Let's see. We have a FAO guide, but I don't see anything on our species here, so I don't think that's actually going to show us anything. Nice illustration of a basking shark, by the way. So really cool to see. And it's actually similar in the quality of illustrations to Bigelow and Schroeder. So, let's see. We have notes on other dogfish, but I don't really see anything on the Indonesian short-spined spur dog. Let's see. This is interesting. I will check this out. Let's see if we can make this larger. Okay. First report of 4 deep-sea chondrichthyans from Andaman waters, India, with an updated checklist from the region. So this is the same region as that other paper saying that they found the Indonesian short-spined spur dog. So this paper confirms the new distributional records of 4 rare deep-water chondrichthyans: the sharp-nosed seven-gill shark, Heptranchius perlo, the blunt-nosed six-gill shark, Hexantius griseus, the bramble shark, Echinorinus brucus, and the sicklefin chimera, Neoheriota pinnata, from the Andaman waters in the Indian Exclusive Economic Zone. The above-mentioned 4 fish species have not been reported earlier from this region. More exploratory surveys in the region are essential to understand the diversity and distribution pattern, which is essential for critical management actions. An updated checklist of chondrichthyans known from Andaman and Nicobar waters of India is also presented. Chondrichthyan diversity in Indian waters has been vaguely studied. In comparison to oceanic, deep, or coastal waters off mainland India, chondrichthyan diversity waters around its major island archipelago systems, that is, the Laccadive Islands in the Arabian Sea and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal, are least known. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands off India just fall outside the well-known diversity hotspot referred to as the Coral Triangle region, which also supports rich fish diversity. There were only a few major studies in the region at the end of the 19th century. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands of India and their surrounding waters, constituting an extremely diverse and rich marine habitat, still remain largely unexplored. Considering large information gap in the region, more concentrated studies are being conducted in the recent past, and several ongoing studies are providing better understanding of faunal diversity, fishery trends, and improved catch and species composition. There's an urgent need to explore this biodiversity hotspot for its better understanding and for conservation actions. Perpetual efforts for documentation of the diversity and updating the checklist with correctly identified species are important for conservation and management of the vulnerable fauna. Interesting. So what kind of caught my eye is some really cool photographs of a couple of deep water species. So we have a seven-gill shark, the sharp-nosed seven-gill shark. This one's a juvenile, and this is actually this is a real treat to kind of see a juvenile hexantiform. So these, it's really cute, but this is a juvenile seven-gill shark. They have one dorsal fin, really dark caudal fin, dorsal fin margin here, and the dark fin tip here. So it's actually really cool to see. A lot of juvenile sharks can have different markings from the adults. You can see the collar of 7 gills. So it's kind of similar to a frill shark in a weird way. You can see the very pointed snout here. But best of all, you can see the really intense looking teeth. So these sharks have a really unique dentition. So a single tooth on the bottom here has multiple cusplets. So these are great teeth for like tearing and slashing. Whereas the teeth up here, these are kind of like snake teeth. Like these are good like gripping teeth to help grip prey items, and then the bottom teeth like rip them apart. So it's a really amazing dentition for the 7-gill shark. Here's a 6-gill shark, Hixanthus griseus. So this is like the famous broad-nosed 6-gill shark. Or I guess you would say blunt-nosed 6-gill, but this is a ocean giant. So this one in particular, 700. I'm sorry. This one, not this one in particular, but these guys can be as large as great white sharks. We don't have any other information on it, sadly. Bramble shark, which we don't have a photo of. Oh, we do have a photo of. Here's a bramble shark. The Conroe-Nicholls brucus. These are really cool. These sharks used to be considered squaliforms, but they're just too different looking, where they became their entirely own order. So they're in an order of their own. There's no other shark like bramble sharks. They're just very weird, where they have these 2 dorsal fins very far back on the body, this very large, weird, almost like singularly shaped caudal fin. And then most prominently of all, these very, very noticeable elevated dermal denticles, and that's where the shark gets its name. These are like they're reminiscent of brambles, which is kind of interesting, and also like a pretty large snout, large head relative to the body size. Here's a chimera, which is not a shark. This is just a cousin of sharks. This is a whole group of their own that are kind of cartilaginous fish, but they're not an elasmobranch. These are chimeras are their own thing. Very, very unusual looking deep sea animals. This is actually a really nice little chart. Conservation status of chondrichthyans from waters around the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, India. So it looks like a lot of these sharks and rays and chimeras, these are nearly threatened animals. A lot of them are vulnerable, so the majority are not in a great spot. Some are least concerned, some are endangered, some are critically endangered, but for the most part, it seems like it's a very heavily impacted system. I'm sure our shark is in this checklist. Yep, so it looks like our shark is in the checklist here, so this is Squalus hemipinnis. The Indonesian Shortsnout spur dog is in that checklist, so that's why this article came up. So let's see if there's anything else. So good little detour as far as seeing deep water sharks. Another note of sharks from the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago in India with notes on current checklists. I'm just going to peruse this really quickly. I think this is the same study that we saw earlier. Okay. Yeah, it's the same study, so we'll kind of keep rocking and rolling. Oh, interesting. 2 new species of short-snouted dogfish, sharks of the genus Squalus, from southern Africa. Interesting. Alright, species composition of the genus Squalus from the eastern Atlantic and western Indian Ocean is still poorly known, with 3 to 4 species often recognized: Squalus acanthius, which is a spiny dogfish, Squalus megalops, Squalus blainvelli, and Squalus mitsukurii. A 5th species, Squalus acutipinnis, was recently redescribed and is valid in the region, although morphological variation was noted among its type specimens that indicate the presence of 2 different forms. The second form is described herein as Squalus Margaret Smithii, and distinguished from Squalus acutipinnis based on external morphological characters. So there's always new sharks discovered every day, and it's just like I don't think this species has stuck. How old is this? This is 2017. I don't think I've ever heard of Squalus Margaret Smithii. So Squalus mahia is also described from southern Africa, based mostly on material collected from Madagascar. Squalus mahia stands out from other squalus species by having a conspicuously slender body, elongate and thin dorsal fin spines, narrow caudal fin, and other external proportions. These two species are often misidentified with the Australian Squalus megalops because they share a short snout, white postventral caudal margins, lanceolate and unicuspid dermal denticles, and a low number of vertebrae. Comparative analyses are provided here between Squalus Margaret Smithii, is a really terrible name, Squalus mahia, and morphologically similar species that also share these features, including Squalus brevirostris, Squalus crassipinnis, Squalus acutipinnis, Squalus altipinnis, and Squalus hemipinnis. A taxonomic evaluation of nominal species, Squalus megalops, and its occurrence of the region is also discussed. We have to look this up. I don't think this is a valid... actually, I know exactly where to look for those shark references. I do not think this is a valid species, so... Also, hello, Gajira. I just saw your comments, so good to see you. And welcome to the channel. I don't know... you might have a new icon, because I think I've seen Gajira here before, but I haven't seen this... this is a really cool dinosaur icon, so that's super, super cool. Actually, it makes me think of... there's this great... I think I saw a trailer for this game called The Lost Wild, which looks really, really cool. It kind of is like this Jurassic Park-y looking game, but the premise looks really good. I don't know what's coming out, but I'm excited to take a look at it. Yeah, and I'll put it in the chat too, just because The Lost Wild dinosaur game. Yeah, it's funny because like I will always love sharks, but I remember when I was a kid, I definitely was in that Jurassic Park craze where like dinosaurs were very, very cool, very, very, very much something that I loved a lot too. Right now, I'm very curious about Squalus Margaret Smithii. I don't think this is a legitimate species, and I just want to oh, look at this. Okay, is this real? Squalus Margaret Smithii, 2017. Wow, looks like this has been accepted. Smith's Dogfish. So, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this was a thing. So, Squalus Margaret Smithii is another kind of dogfish. Incredible. So, Smith's Dogfish. Let's see. I thought this was going to be a failed species. Let's see. It even has a red list assessment. What the heck? So it's a least concerned species, Smith's spur dog. So this is a valid species. Oh my goodness. So look at that. And this was discovered 2017, so about 9 years ago. So that's really incredible. All right, well, I am mistaken. I thought this was going to be a bit of a joke, but I guess it's a real thing now. So incredible. Because it's like there's a lot of sharks that, you know, they try to redescribe it or resurrect a name and it just doesn't stick. And then there's some that, you know, they lump it into a whole species complex and that doesn't work either. So it's always revising. So let's see. I don't think I see the shark here, so we'll kind of keep going. It looks like the Indonesian Shortsnout spur dog, it's referred to in a lot of different studies, but I think as far as like studies that it is central to, okay. Although this study looks interesting, so puzzling over spur dogs, molecular taxonomy assessment of squall species in the Strait of Sicily. The actual occurrence of Squalus megalops in the Mediterranean Sea has recently been questioned. Several research works which sought to assess available morphological and meristic features that differentiate Squalus megalops from other squalus species in the Mediterranean Sea reveal poor discriminatory power and high variability of the assessed characters, especially comparing Squalus megalops and Squalus plainville. The application of molecular tools does not support the presence of Squalus megalops. In the present study, we screened spur dog species from the Strait of Sicily using a molecular taxonomy approach based on 2 mitochondrial DNA markers and report the occurrence of 2 Squalus lineages characterizing specimens collected from the stretch of sea between Tunisia, southern Sicily, Malta, and Libya. The results support the hypothesis that a common species, Squalus blainville, currently inhabits the Mediterranean Sea, while a second and rare species is probably an occasional visitor with high morphological similarity to the Squalus megalops and Squalus blainville, but is genetically distinct from both. These studies really show you how complicated it can get and how much research is needed on shark biodiversity. It's really incredible, honestly. Within this perspective, the occurrence of Squalus megalops in the Mediterranean Sea is not confirmed, and our study highlights the taxonomic uncertainties in relation to the occurrence and distribution of Squalus species in this region. We encourage the establishment of a coordinated international effort to implement a comprehensive and integrated taxonomic assessment of this genus, which represents an irreplaceable component of the biodiversity of the area. Okay. Let's see. This is another genetic study of the Indonesian shortsnout spur dog. So it's kind of getting into the weeds of genetics. Okay. Let's see. I think we read the study already. Yes, because we already saw these graphs, and then finally, I think this is actually really cool. I think the last thing on the Indonesian short-snout spur dog is this interesting mapping website. And I'm gonna put this in chat because I knew there's a reason why I saved this. Oh hey, Gajira. By the way, I'm from Indonesia, so welcome. It's really cool. We actually have quite a few Indonesians on the channel, so that's actually really cool. It's good. Welcome to this place. We have a lot of great viewers who they love sharks and love marine biology. And love discussing. And actually, one of our viewers from Indonesia suggested this species. So part of the reason why we're doing the Indonesian Shortsnout Dogfish is because a viewer was asking for us to find a shark that was around Java or endemic to Java. And this is a species that actually came up. So welcome to the channel, and it's good to have you. So I posted this in the chat. This is actually a really cool mapping website where it's pulling up records. And in these kinds of websites, you got to be a little careful with where this is not going to be extremely accurate, but it's posting records of where specimens of this species have been captured. So, that in itself is really cool. But what caught my eye is that you can see bathymetric depth contours pretty clearly on this map. So where you see 500, 200, 1,000, I'm assuming this is meters and probably not feet. But what's really cool about that is you can see that where the dogfish lives, it's extremely close to a very deep drop-off. So it's very easy for the shark to go into deep water environments in the twilight zone and even midnight zone, not too far from shore. And this is really different from where I live in Virginia, because Virginia is very smooth gradient before the drop off. But here, the geology is completely different. Where in Indonesia, a lot of volcanic activity has helped create, these islands And with that, there's these amazing drop-offs into deep water. So incredible biodiversity, and this map is really cool. Where I just like the visual of these deep water areas, and you can kind of see just the big picture of how the bathymetric contours work. You can honestly kind of see how the plates line up too. So like here as an example, you can clearly see the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, kind of like the spine of it down the central of the Atlantic Ocean. I wonder if I can pull up, and this might be a really cool note to end on. I wonder if I could find the NOAA bathymetric data viewer. Because this is a really helpful tool for mapping the seafloor. Alright. And you have to kind of play with the settings on the left a little bit. Let's see. It's just going to load. But this is actually it's a really fun tool. There we go. And actually, we can go back to Indonesia. This is actually a great way to visualize what's going on. And it looks like they updated it. This is gorgeous. Okay, so you have the light blue area is shallow water, but here, kind of where the dogfish can be found, so actually specifically here, on that past map, it was saying that this was a good collection point for that species. You can see it's right next to a drop off here into pretty deep water. So this actually can show me live. That's right next to the island. This is about 30 meters, so it's really shallow tropical coral reef environment. But when you get here, you're starting to kind of go into the twilight zone immediately at 19 meters, and then you eventually can go to the bottom at 4,000 meters. It's unbelievable. That is like true midnight zone deep water environment. Very, very close. So I'm sure this dogfish is actually probably going up these slopes, chasing prey items, probably coming to the surface at night and then going back down into the depths at day. A lot of dogfish do that. So it's so cool. But I'm going to post this in the chat for viewers to play around with. This is the NOAA bathymetry or bathymetric data viewer. So this is a great way to kind of visualize and see, how like the depths of the ocean and just how under sea features work, and it's just like so cool. So yeah, and you can see just in general like how deep everything is. Where the vast majority of the ocean is a deep water environment. There's not a lot of shallow water spaces, so it's so cool. All right, I think before we wrap up for tonight, we'll take a look at dive notes for the other 4 kinds of dogfish. I just kind of want to see their behavior notes. This is from sharksandrays.com by Andy Murch. It's a cool website talking about shark diving. I'll post that in the chat too, just because this is a really great resource. But I kind of want to see the dive notes on dogfishes and see if there's any other little tidbits that we can maybe infer for the Indonesian Shortsnout spur dog. And then I think after that we'll call it a night. But here's what physically looks the closest, the Cuban dogfish. So Cuban dogfish inhabit water too deep to be encountered by divers. Captured specimens show no aggressive behavior. They feed on benthic fishes and invertebrates. They're caught in a variety of baits, including cobia, bonito, and shark. And they're known to form large, dense schools. And here's some really beautiful photos of Cuban dogfish. These are really gorgeous species. Very, very cool shark. And very large eyes too, so indicative of a deep water environment. The Japanese spur dog, Squalus japonicus. Unknown behavior, but probably very shy. The Japanese spur dog occurs in waters deeper than 50 meters. Therefore, encounters with recreational divers are unlikely. The behavior is unknown, probably feeds on bony fishes and invertebrates. So a couple photos of the Japanese spur dog. So this is actually a nice one of it just kind of chilling on the sea floor. The spiny dogfish, the very, very famous one, Squalus. Shy and difficult to approach, but occasionally makes close passes, becomes much bolder in baited situations, even wrestling fish from a diver's hand. Spiny dogfish are opportunistic predators that will feed on whatever is locally available. Stomach content analysis have included a wide range of bony fishes, including species that are larger than themselves: squid, shrimp, crabs, amphipods, snails, and worms. When food is scarce, they will even consume calorie-poor prey such as jellyfishes and ctenophores. Spur dogs are generally bottom feeders, but they will rise to the surface to gorge on clouds of krill. North American spiny dogfish migrate northward in the summer. They may be solitary, but when a particular food is abundant, they may form immense feeding schools. So a couple of nice photographs of schools of spiny dogfish. And in Virginia, it's a great wintertime species. So these guys signal winter for me. They come down here when the water gets very cold. And then finally, the Northern Pacific spiny dogfish, Squalus sucklei. It's a little bit slightly different looking shark. Somewhat shy and difficult to approach, but may make close passes if curious. Northern Pacific spiny dogfish are extremely bold in baited situations, even wrestling fish from the diver's hands. Anecdotal reports from divers in the 1980s held dogfish schools that would block out the sun and bring visibility down to zero as the massive animals moved through the area. Wow. Northern Pacific spiny dogfish undergo extremely long migrations. One tagged individual traveled 6,500 kilometers across the Pacific. It's actually really cool. You can kind of see how it's a bit different. It's something in the snout looks a little bit different than the classic dogfish. These are cool sharks. Oh, that's a great photograph. Love the eye on that. Very cool. Alright, I'm gonna zoom in. I wonder if we have a better photo. Better resolution. I guess this is the best resolution that we have for this species. So I'm going to zoom in here. Okay. Oh, this is a great question. I do want to ask something from Gojira. Why do many deep sea sharks at day still the deep sea, but at night they go up in the shallow waters? So that's actually a really good question. So I think, if I remember correctly, a lot of deep water animals, they're adapted to be camouflaged in the deep sea, where they may have like dark colors that help kind of blend in with like the totally like dark environment. If those kinds of animals like lanternfish came up to the ocean during the daytime, they would stick out like a sore thumb. Like if a black lanternfish came up into the water during the daytime, they'll stick out like a sore thumb, and other kinds of animals will go after them. So they stick to the deep water environment during the daytime, presumably just to kind of hide. But at night, when it gets darker, those fish can actually blend in still really well with their environment. So they'll come up to the surface. And the reason they move up to the surface is that there's more food items at the surface, and the reason for that is that, and actually I have to work backwards. Sorry, this is a really good question. So at the surface, I wonder if I could draw this. Okay, so at the surface, during the daytime, you have plankton photosynthesizing and blooming, and there's a lot of zooplankton that are eating that kind of phytoplankton. So, and I'm gonna like type this. During the day, there's a lot of phytoplankton at the surface, and a lot of zooplankton at the surface. Because the phytoplankton need to use the sunlight in order to grow food, and the zooplankton eat them. Therefore, there's a lot of food. Oops, sorry. Okay. So at the surface is a lot of food because phytoplankton are photosynthesizing from the sun, and they're blooming, and zooplankton are eating the phytoplankton. And so there's a lot of food at the surface, and there's deep water fish that want to get that food, but they're scared of going up to the surface during the daytime because they stick out like a sore thumb. Like they don't have like the same kind of color patterns as shallow water fish. Deep water fish stay at depth to hide during the daytime, since they typically have black or brown coloration, black, red, or dark brown coloration. But they move up to the surface at night to eat the abundance of food. The sharks then follow them. Okay, sorry. So this is a really, really great question, and it took me a while to kind of figure it out. So during the daytime, the only time when the sun is out, that's the only time when phytoplankton at the surface can photosynthesize and convert sunlight energy into food, and become like the green phytoplankton. And zooplankton will eat the phytoplankton, and little fish eat the zooplankton, and basically it's a chain reaction where at the surface is a lot of food. Now, deep water fish want to go to the surface to eat that food, but they have to be careful because if like a black or brown or red fish, like a deep water fish, goes into the open blue water during the daytime, they really are very exposed, and they stick out to predators like sharks or barracudas or tuna. And so these fish still kind of hide in the deep water twilight zone or the midnight zone during the daytime. But then when the sun sets and there's no more light, these fish still blend in perfectly with their environment. So they'll move up to the shallow water, and they like to move up to the shallow water at night where they can still hide, but they can eat all that abundance of food at the surface. So they will go up to the surface at night, they come back down to the depths during the daytime, they go back up at night, they go back down to the depths of the daytime. There's more food at the surface, and they'll take advantage of that. And wherever they're going, like the up and down, these are called diel migrations. Wherever they're going, the sharks are going to follow them. So sharks love to time their movements to the movements of the fishes. So specifically lanternfish. So lanternfish are really good shark food. Sharks love, or deep water sharks love to eat lanternfish. So largely that's kind of it. There's probably more nuances to that, but and it's a really good question because it's kind of complicated because everything affects everything. Weather, wind. Oh, sorry. Well, not wind, but wind. I mean, weather, temperature, ocean features, like how close you are to a drop off, what the currents are doing. Everything will affect the abundance of food, the abundance of nutrients. And there's so many combinations of factors that will ultimately affect the distribution of sharks and other marine creatures, which is really cool to think about. So it's very complicated. But what I just put in the chat is kind of roughly my guess in terms of like why many Waimea sharks will go to the shallows at night. So just it's ultimately to kind of go after their prey items, which are going after the abundance of food. So I hope that helps. But really great question, and it's almost 11 o'clock here, so I think that's a good note to end on for tonight. So, but guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here, and this was a particularly fun stream. I feel also really good covering dogfish today, because last week it just it felt so bad to end the stream early. Just I physically was not feeling well, but I'm so glad that we could finish the species tonight, and not only that, but go into a lot of really cool questions, and then also learn more about dogfish as a whole, and also talk about the banner contest and the hint for, and I'll post this right before I go. The challenge is to describe a shark with a nictitating membrane that eats marine mammals, is the largest of its genus, and lives in Virginia. So I will post the official rules this weekend, but everybody on the channel tonight has a head start for the contest, and we have a couple weeks to do the drawings. So yeah, good luck, and really excited to get the official contest underway. But until then, I hope everybody has a really great rest of their week, and really excited next week to cover sharks of the Gulf of Mexico. So I think it's going to be a really cool episode. It's a very unique region with a lot of exciting species. But until then, take care, stay safe, and have a really great rest of your week, everybody. Cheers.